was on WGN. Yeah, 4 o'clock news. They had a helicopter over it. That was mine. We built it 2 years ago, and they had a compost bin.
Walter Wyrick?
Compost bin, spontaneous ignition.
I was just in the park there.
Yeah, we tore it down today. My dad was living there. They were living there. My granddaughter, entire basement, and concrete, 460 feet or 7 feet and everything. And as it was on the news, and the house burned down. And he's like, all that was left was the basement. He was so bummed. He's like, the house is gone.
When did you leave work?
My dad left there. I think it was 1959, 1960. My grandpa So they're.
Hello, everyone. Is it now 7 o'clock? I'd like to call the regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for May 22nd to order with a roll call vote at 7 PM.
Commissioner Evans,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Saborn,
Present.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Here.
Commissioner Straka. Commissioner Weber here, Chairperson Grunt.
Here. First order of business would be approval, we'll do them one at a time, approval of the minutes from the January 23rd regular meeting. Comments, corrections, edits, et cetera. Fellow members. Hearing none, we'll move on to the April 10th special meeting minutes, and we'll do them both at once. Comments, corrections, edits. Well done, whoever did the minutes, thank you. So with no edits, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 23rd regular meeting and the April 10th special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans,
Abstain.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grunt.
Aye. For those who've not been with us before, this is the point in the meeting where we call public comment, and you can speak to us or staff with anything that might be on your mind unrelated to today's agenda. So first, any comments from the commissioners? Hearing none, any comments from the public? Not at this point. So off we go. With council at my right, we've streamlined things a little bit. So for my fellow commissioners, things will go slightly different than what we've been used to. So I may screw up a little bit, but we'll get there.
We forgive you.
So the first order of business is a continuance of case number 2501, continued public hearing to hear a request for sign variations for Castle Motors in the C1 district at 9,000 Ogden Avenue. This is a case for a sign variance, so it triggers a public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to open that public hearing for said case 2501.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grunt.
Aye. So here's where we differ than what we used to. The applicants now will make their presentation first, and then staff will present after the applicants. So, and again, for those who have not been with us, if anybody would like to, from the public, would like to say anything about this particular case, along with the petitioners, I need you to stand and raise your right hand so I can swear you in. So petitioners, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Paul Castellano,
Swear the testimony I am about to give
swear the testimony that I'm about to give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
The floor is yours. Please state your name and your position, and off you go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jay Kostecki, Kostecki, and I represent Castle Motors in this hearing. My client has submitted a variance application for several items. Number one, a variance for the sign, the size of a wall sign that they presently have at the property. They've also asked for a variance regarding an awning sign that they have present at the property. And they've also requested a variance for the number of signs that they have at the property. Now, as this was already heard back in January, as the commission may recall, a large portion of my client's variance application stems from a contractor that they were involved in, a contractor who assured them that he was getting the proper permits to put up several signs at the property. However, the contractor was not awarded the permits from the village, and he just elected to put up the signs on my client's property nevertheless. And so my clients have kind of been taken advantage of by this contractor, and they are now filing this variance in hopes to make things right with the village. And in furtherance of that goal, they have also retained my office to help guide this application through, and with the commission's approval, hopefully get a recommendation for it to be approved. One of the main purposes of this variance application is for a wall sign that my client has on the property. It does deviate from the size requirements of the ordinance, however, it deviates very, very slightly. And I believe that staff has actually recommended that this variance, portion of the variance be granted. I mean, the deviations that are required here are the reason for variances like this. This is not, yards and yards of difference from what the ordinance calls for. It's very slight differences, which are encapsulated in the staff report and also my client's application. Similarly, the original awning that was on the property was approved in the original staff report as well. I noticed there's some discrepancies in the most recent staff report. However, it was recommended for approval at the original staff report, if I am not mistaken, as well. With regard to the number of signs at the property, my clients are aware of the numbers requirements in the ordinance for the village. However, you all know the Ogden Avenue corridor. It is packed with businesses, packed with signs. My client has some very unobtrusive signs that put them over the limit, and it is very important to them to maintain those signs because it helps get business inside the door. This is a young business. It started roughly 2020. They have generated from this year alone, from January 1st of the 2025 to present, over $51,000 for the village of Brookfield in the sales tax. My client is hoping to continue to operate at this location. They're continuing to thrive at this location, and they do need the commission's blessing to continue with their advertising so they continue to bring in more business. They want to remain in Brookfield. They want to continue operating their business here. And they hope that the village will kind of grant these variances for them in hopes of demonstrating that the village wants to work with businesses in Brookfield and bring businesses in. And they hope that the commission will vote to approve the variance application. Thank you.
Questions of the petitioner from commissioners? None at this point?
I
All
do.
right, go ahead.
So when a law or ordinance is put into place that is and then someone violates it, that's what a variance is for? That was because that's really what's come before us, right? They put it up without permits. We've already gone through that. We've already talked about that, right? We'll put that back into the record. But a variance is for when someone does something to their property that violates an ordinance, then we create a variance. Is that your take on it?
That's generally what a variance is for, is to deviate from the ordinance.
After the work's been complete or before?
In an ideal world, before. However, my clients, again, were trying to do things by the book by using this contractor.
I just want to make sure that we're representing this correctly, right? That's important. And again, because other businesses may or may not have done something, that is the argument that we should also then allow this, even though some of those businesses may also have these same cases in front of us. That's the argument.
I think the argument is that compliance should be sought. And I think that sometimes forgiveness for, especially a third party's actions, should be granted. And I think that compliance should be the main goal of most governing bodies, and my clients are attempting to come into compliance here.
Where does personal responsibility come in? It seems like the responsibility is being shifted to the contractor. This is the owner of the business.
Certainly, and the
When
contract.
I do work at my home, I have to go and get a permit. I have to put it in my window. I mean, we've adjudicated that portion of it. It just seems like there's very little personal ownership.
Well, there is ownership because they have retained my services to try to get this through. They are trying to get this right with the village. And they're not just coming back here, by themselves trying to do it. They have retained my office to do so. And frankly speaking, my office is not free. They are attempting to make this work with the village, and they're trying to make sure they do it in the legal manner.
And I think that we put ordinances in place so that they're very clear right? For businesses that want to put up signs, we have a whole department that works with people to make sure that those compliances are met and that we hold a sign ordinance. Whether I agree with our sign ordinance is a whole nother thing, but when you have ordinances, you look to enforce those, right? And so saying that Brookfield wants to be business-friendly, or they want Brookfield to be business-friendly, some of that, right, is just, when I hear that, we have a process in place. We clearly delineate what's asked inside of that code. We have a whole department to do that so that a business can, or a homeowner can, do those things correctly. So that portion of it just doesn't, right, it's not Brookfield's onus to see that through. The business-friendly portion is to make sure that they can be guided through the process, not to turn a blind eye when a sign goes up that violates our ordinances, just like many other signs on Ogden are going through as well.
Well, certainly. However, and I think my client is no stranger to this, typically when you hire a professional contractor in the midst of running your own business, you are trusting this contractor is going through the necessary stages. They hired this contractor, the contractor applied for the permit. Why the permit was denied, why the contractor saw fit to just move forward with it anyway, I am not sure. But my client trusted in their contractor, apparently for worse in this situation, and to their ill. And that is why, once they realized that the permit was not completed properly or issued, they put forward this variance in an attempt to get a new permit for the property sign.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Certainly.
Who determined that the mistake was made? Was it the village or was it the business owner?
And what mistake are you referring to?
Well, in terms of the signs not complying with, or not even having a permit, not complying with the ordinance.
No, that came up through the village.
It was from the village.
So the village determined,
Yeah, we were under the impression that everything was done. Again, I work 6, sometimes even 7 days a week. I hired the gentleman, was told everything was okay, and went about our way. He was paid for the service, and again, I've even shopped around a couple different sign companies, and it seemed like it was the normal for their process is to handle all of the permitting and stuff with the village.
so the village came to you and said you did not follow the proper procedure and did not get the permits.
Correct, and that's when it was a surprise to us, and then we started, getting more information on what actually happened.
I think it would be a very rare case where someone perhaps was re-examining a sign and determined that perhaps it was not in conformance with a permit. I think that obviously, especially with a public sign like this, unfortunately, it is the village who largely notices those mistakes.
Other questions to this point?
Yeah, I think we should bring up again the history of the signs, the evolution of the signs on site, because they weren't installed at one time. Do you have history or knowledge of that?
It was all done through the same company. There was different stages of what manufacturing to get the sign completed. So there was different days that they were told us. Again, I was completely in the dark as far as I was told everything, everything was done as far as the legality and the permitting of the signs. And we've tried making contact with the contractor to bring him up to speed on what's going on, and we failed to get any, resolution or answer from him. So it's kind of apparent and clear to us of what happened.
So all 3 signs, I believe one was existing on the east face of the
Correct.
building, right?
Yeah, that was existing prior to, us occupying the building. There's another sign on the east that was existing. That sign, it was all within I would say, a month. I don't know the exact dates, but they weren't put up on the same day. There was different stages of when they were done to be put up. It's by the same company.
Other questions of the petitioner? All right, I'll turn it over to staff for their presentation. If you have anything to add.
Oop, turn that on. Not so much, frankly. We did have a supplemental staff report. We took your conversations on the 23rd of January looking for a continuance, looking for some, dare I say, compromise solution, if you will. And that's after we talked about it internally. That's why the follow-up memo from us says, you know, as we said originally, that the wall sign, it's 102 square feet as opposed to 100. It's 16'8" as opposed to 15 feet high. It's 5 feet in height with the outline of the vehicle instead of 4 feet. Perhaps I hate to agree with the attorney here, but they're not that big of departures from the code, 100, 102, so forth. And I think the commission felt that was a relatively attractive sign. So the compromise that we proposed in this follow-up was keep the wall sign, you know, on the south facade. The awning sign on the west facade would not be recommended for approval. I want to take one bit of departure with Paul Jr. They're correct that one of our inspectors noticed the wall sign up and said, hey, you know, what happened here? And then when I was down there trying to measure that wall sign and talking to Paul and Paul Sr., I noticed the awning sign and looked back at the GIS, Street View, and saw that sign was up maybe a year before the other one. You know, we have the Street View in your packet originally that shows the awning sign on the north elevation and nothing on the south elevation. Then a year later, of course, the south elevation sign went up. That's just a small point of contention. Other than that, you know, we made our recommendation to maybe grant the variation for the wall sign and not the awning sign.
I have a question for staff to follow up one of my esteemed colleagues over there. We've been talking about the wall sign on Ogden and not being permitted, but the other signs were on the site and were changed to match your now logo. Was there permits issued for those changes? Do we know?
No, there's the service sign that's been there for,
That's the one way in the back. I'm
Right.
talking about the two up front. The awning sign is one, and the
awning
other
sign
side,
is one, and the
which
metal sign,
which
I'll
were
call it
changed to
metal sign.
Castle.
Yeah, that one on the east, the second sign on the east elevation, I don't have any knowledge of.
Right, but I'm talking about the other two up front on the east and west elevations that are now changed to Castle Motors, because you know, by right, a permit should have been issued to make those changes to an existing sign, correct?
Correct.
So I'm just asking if there's any history, does the staff know if a
No.
permit's?
We have no record of.
All right, so now we're saying that all three signs don't have permits. So whatever we agree to, I think we got to get permits for whatever we agree to. That's the only point I'm trying to make. So,
So then who was responsible for the other two signs that you're referring to that don't have the permits? Was it the same contractor or who? I mean, ultimately, I know it's the owner that's responsible for having the permits and getting everything in place, but if we're talking about signs that were done at different times, who was responsible? Was it the same contractor?
If my client can interject, I think he can shed some light on
Yeah,
that.
so the building, when we moved in, it originally had the one sign that is on the east side, that was our logo, our image, our sign, okay? And at the time when Paul was on staff, there was a pole sign originally on that building, which was for the advertising. There's a pole sign. We complied with the village to get that taken down, the pole sign taken down. So we paid for that expense, got everything removed, and he said that sign that would have been on the pole can go onto the building. You need to have some type of signage. And there was no information or any knowledge that he made to me or made us aware that there needed to be a permit for that. And that's where that one sign. The other two, the awning and the front sign, were done by the same contractor. They were not up a year prior. I think there's some confusion there. The awning was up first. The sign, the bigger sign, the front facing sign took a little bit longer to be made. That was put up probably 2 to 3 weeks after, again, by the same contractor, same company that, you know, we used for the awning and the front facing sign. That's actually on Ogden Avenue. So I hope that gives some clarity on what's going on.
So then it sounds like there's two separate incidents of violation. Was the sign on the east, and then the other two signs, the awning and the other.
I disagree, there's just one. There's just, for the awning sign and the front-facing sign was one incident which we used the contractor that didn't pull a permit. The other sign has been on the building for, I think we're going on this July, it'll be 5 years we've been there. And again, that's going back 5 years. There was a pole sign, we had to remove that, we took that down, so that sign that would have been on the pole as our advertising went onto the building probably 4 or 5 years ago.
And was a permit required for that?
No.
But you don't,
We got a banner.
but there's ordinance around how many signs can go on, whether you took it off of a pole sign and put it on, and then added 2 more, there's ordinances that are involved in that.
You're not sworn in, sir.
You're not sworn in. And I've already talked with you at the last meeting, right? And remember, we talked about when you go to, that's fine, when you go and you do your kitchen, you knew you had to pull, I mean, we've gone through all of that. I understand that this is upsetting, but our job, right, is to make sure, our job is to make sure that ordinances are followed and figure out the path forward,
I understand.
right? And in the last meeting, we offered suggestions and solutions to try to get to a place, even though I don't necessarily, right? The violations have occurred. We need a path forward. Offers have been made. We didn't hear anything until today, so perhaps there's more that will come.
My question to the village is, was a permit needed for that change to the sign on the east side of the building, from a pole sign to placing it on the building?
Yeah, yes, I mean, in a perfect world, absolutely, and he's
Well, in a
testifying that
perfect
there
world,
was
what does
some.
the ordinance say? Do they need
Ordinance
to,
says it needs a
do they
permit.
need to get a permit?
Ordinance says he needs a permit.
Okay,
yes,
so
ma'am.
there were 2 incidents of violations, not just one.
Any other comments at this point?
I have a question going back to Commissioner Evans. Has any alternative considerations been made for the signs as recommended in its last meeting?
I mean, if any of the signs were taken down and disrupt and it have a huge negative impact on our business. I mean, if you're driving east and west on, or if you're driving east on Ogden, there's not a sign there, it's only in the front, the business is completely unrecognizable. And I think that has to do with why a lot of companies have not succeeded there, prior to us, and we plan on doing so, but without having signage or proper, viewing for customers that are driving by, it makes business very difficult to not advertise.
I'm gonna go back to, again, you're asking for a variance, and this board, and I'll speak for all of us, I think we've been pretty consistent in always suggesting that variances are push and take. So not only have you put up a sign on the front of the building without a permit, some would say illegally, and some would say, if you haven't been fined by the village for that, you feel yourself lucky, because you should be, because that's what the ordinance says. And it's bigger than it's supposed to be, and it's up higher than it's supposed to be. So we asked last time to give us a compromise. That's all. We'll let you have that sign. But if you had come here with a clean slate, my guess is we would end up where I think we're going to go and follow staff's recommendation. We would have said, you know what, you want a bigger sign than the ordinance allows, you want it up taller, fine. Then get rid of the awning sign or get rid of the sign on the east elevation. Makes a little difference to me, but I think 2 signs is what's appropriate here. And I guess that starts our deliberations.
So if we're talking about removing one sign on the east side of the building.
That's just my suggestion, though. I'd mark whatever, you know.
Good suggestion, good starting point. Would the commission consider the removal of the red service sign further back on that east wall as a compromise? Leaving the Castle Motors sign on the east wall closer to the front of the building as acceptable?
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. The thought had crossed my mind, but no.
I look forward to the cleanup of the sign ordinance here in town. It's coming soon because it sometimes drives these conversations and may be outdated for the times. And these are things that we've already talked about. We will see other businesses on Ogden place signs up, come here and ask forgiveness. And so you have to be okay with that. On the merits, your sign is excellent, your front sign. I think it enhances Ogden Avenue. I think a lot of the work that you've done to improve that building enhances Ogden Avenue. You are a business that we want in town, all of us, residents, right? We want that. It's making sure that we follow the path that has been put in place. That's the thing that we're looking for, right? You are here asking for a variance. I think that that front sign cannot be altered substantively in any way without destroying it. I think granting a variance on that front sign makes sense. The other that are in violation are not nearly as substantial as your front sign that you've invested in your business. Your business is successful not because people drive by and see an awning with 1,000 words on it. It's because of the marketing you do. It's because of the work that you put in. But you are in violation of our sign ordinance illegally through a non-permitted process. I would look to approve his sign, but again, this will come back and we will see this again, time and time again. And when you have a person like our next applicant coming forward doing it the right way, we have time to deliberate that. We don't have a gun to our head. We don't have individuals calling us jokes, right? But this is what we're tasked to do to make sure that it's done right in town. That's what we're tasked to do. You're tasked to run a business. We're tasked to make sure that those businesses follow what the town prescribes. And so I will follow along with my commissioners on this, but know that the next steps are going to be the next business on Ogden Avenue that violates our sign ordinance will come and ask forgiveness. So that's all I have.
I have a technical question for staff. How does the applicant go about getting a permit for a sign now? It would seem to me that the only way to do that would be with his original vendor to come in and get a permit. And I sense that that's not going to be able to happen.
Yeah, you know, we have a permit that was applied for the awning sign, and it was denied. The wall sign, there was no permit at all. But yeah, presumably, the original sign contractor would have to come back and provide the drawings. You know, you'll recall there were handmade drawings by Paul Jr. In your packet because the sign contractor would not, so I'm told, would not provide those documents to Castle Motors. So, but yeah, you're right, Mr. Chairman, that, you know, the best way would be for the original sign company, the name escapes me now, to apply.
And that's what staff will demand, I assume.
Yes, sir.
But whatever the results of this meeting are, they still need permits for the signs that they have on the building.
If the village president and board of trustees deny the variation requests, we'll tell them to take the signs down.
I should, you're right, results of our meeting and the village board.
If in fact the
meeting. Yes,
variance is
understood,
granted, we'll have to get a permit for the signs.
understood, yeah,
Yes, sir.
okay.
And then also, if the signs are to remain or be altered, somebody from staff would go out and view the workmanship, the integrity of them attached to the building.
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay.
Other comments?
Again, another question for the village. Is there a fine that would be levied against the property owner? Because my concern is what Commissioner Evans has mentioned, is that this is just going to continue to happen. People can see that, okay, you get away with it. We would be setting a precedent.
You know, generally speaking, when like a notice of violation is issued, Inspector Eisenberg would give the notice of violation to the building owner, and then that fine or that adjudication would be held in abeyance pending the outcome of this. I mean, that's historically how that's worked, I believe, in this community and others I've had the pleasure of serving in. So they didn't get a fine to pay and then apply for the permit, that would come later.
Okay, did they get a violation?
Yeah, actually, I was going to say, Inspector Eisenberg issued a violation notice. Which, I mean, what happens is if it's your home or my home and I have a fence that's too tall or whatever, you know, you're issued the violation, you're given the opportunity to repair that, to make right with that. I just lost the word. Make right with that before any fine is actually levied later. So this has just been a somewhat unusual length of time because of all the back and forth.
Which is what my client is attempting to do, is make right with it.
Other thoughts? So I just want to make clear, because there's, I've heard, can staff give us their recommendation again? Because I know there was a couple different things floating out there.
What, the recommendation in the supplemental memo.
Yes.
Was a recommendation to approve the variations necessary for the wall sign on the south elevation, and then to deny the variations necessary for the awning sign on the north elevation. We'd been silent on the two on the east elevation throughout this entire process.
Okay. What's the comfort level of my colleagues on that recommendation?
I'm very comfortable with that.
It makes sense. They maintain the sign on the east wall. People driving westbound probably benefit the business more than an awning sign on the west side, people having to see that from across 2 lanes of traffic.
I never thought about it that way.
If we're going to do one, we may as well do both. They both are in non-compliance, non-conformance.
So you're saying both the east and the west side?
Sure. That's a surprise, isn't it?
Huh?
That's a surprise, isn't it?
Along that, they could take down the east one, apply for the permit, and put it right back up, right? Because it appears to comply, right? The east sign by itself.
But only 2 signs are allowed,
Correct, yeah.
so they really couldn't, right?
They
If we
would
allow
need-
the front sign and the awning sign, then they're done. Right?
Then we would have to remove, or they would have to remove the service entrance signage.
One of them, right.
Or leave the service sign and apply for 3 signs instead of 4.
And, yeah,
Want to come to compliance on anything?
I mean, certainly, I mean, that's why they've applied for this variance. They would like to come to compliance.
By removing one?
If I would be able to go back and have done this with something else.
Would you
maybe,
remove
or
a sign, is what his question is.
The service sign.
The service sign?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
I mean, I feel like that's been there for so long, that should be grandfathered in, or honestly,
You moved it.
I would.
You moved it.
I would gladly move, no, the service sign.
So
is
hang
not.
on, hang on. Would you remove this sign, is the question?
If we were allowed a pole sign, and I would remove both the side of the buildings, both east.
Well, I don't think they're gonna want both.
Yeah, so.
I mean, hypothetically, would you remove one?
The one in the window,
Yeah.
that could be.
Are you referring to one of the window signs? Is that what you're referring to as one of the existing signs?
No, I think there's a sign all the way in the back by the service bay, right?
On the
I
east,
think it's a red up the
Yeah,
top of the
that's more of
parapet.
a, I know it's a sign, but it's more of like, it's been there for, geez.
That's immaterial, it's there.
But you moved it.
To the back.
Well, he
No,
moved
not
It was
that
in the
one.
front. He moved it. He told us, didn't he?
the one towards the front.
One
of the
towards the
east
front.
wall.
Oh, got you, sorry.
I mean, they're certainly amenable to that. However, these are kind of difficult decisions they have to make regarding the business. I mean, is it possible to get a brief continuance for them to figure out, A, if they would remove a sign, and B, which sign it would be?
And you know what, that's fine, and I appreciate you saying that, but you weren't here in the last meeting.
I was not.
And that's what we asked them to do, and they didn't do it. So that's what's frustrating about this. I'm happy to continue it again. I'm happy to continue it again and come back and give us a proposal.
Is that what you want to do?
I mean, honestly, I don't think removing any of the signs are gonna, they're all gonna negatively have a negative impact toward our business.
Recommend is that we come back and see if any of them could be done. So it's not like that. If we could come back and provide a proposal, I think that would be the most prudent course of action.
It's okay with me. I mean, that's what we had hoped for last time, I think.
had the
And I
wrong
understand,
impression.
and I understand that, but my office is also now involved this time, and we are very good at
And
getting
that's why I said I
compromises resolved.
appreciate your comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I had the wrong impression of the last meeting, just, I was coming here expecting to hear what would have been done. I didn't really think of an alternative, I was hoping to get the variance.
So then, if we continue it, I think the other piece of homework would be trying to figure out how you're gonna get a permit for whatever signs we ultimately decide are okay.
Noted, thank you.
Somebody wanna make a motion? What?
Just in the event somebody's in the audience that wants to give public comment on this, just afford them the opportunity to give the public comment. now,
Okay.
And then do your motion to continue.
All right, I just usually don't when they don't stand up.
Yeah, we'll just.
Anybody from the public wanna comment on this case before we move forward? Hearing none, does somebody wanna make a motion to continue? Please.
So moved.
second,
Well, it's gotta be to a specific date and time.
Yeah, you gotta.
Staff has to let us know when it's the next. What's the date of the next meeting?
Regular meeting in July would be the date. The date, without looking at my calendar, the date escapes me right now.
June.
The third Thursday in July is,
In June, you mean?
June.
you just said July,
July.
the 17th of July.
Motion to continue to July 17th at 7 PM at the Village Hall.
July 24th.
July 24th, which is,
Isn't there a meeting in June?
I don't think they have time
Pardon me?
to motion, to, staff said that maybe they're
Okay,
too much on the agenda already, I don't know.
okay.
What's the date on that then, the July meeting?
24th.
Motion is to continue to July 24th, 2025,
at 7 PM.
at 7 PM at the Village Hall.
second,
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grump.
Aye. We'll see you in a couple months, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Moving right along, next on the agenda, get my notes here. Is new business. The first case of new business is case number 2505, a public hearing to hear a request for sign variations to allow 3 permanent sign types, a reduced ground clearance for an awning sign and a striped awning commercial building in C1 General Mixed District at 8819 Ogden Avenue. This is a request for sign variances, which triggers a public hearing, so I'd like to entertain a motion to open said hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Sabrum,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Strachan.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Assuming the petitioner is here, and anybody else that would like to speak on this particular case, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Dimitri Konstantopoulos,
Swear the testimony I am about to give
swear the testimony I'm about to give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth.
The floor is yours, sir. Name and address, please.
Oh, hi, this is for our restaurant, Bill's Place Express, 8819 Ogden Avenue. And we wanted stripes on our awning to match our existing location in LaGrange Park. And I was told we can't have it because we're having a monument sign and a sign on the building. So we just wanted to look the same as our current restaurant. Can you change the picture so they could see? Sorry, Scott. Yeah. So the bottom one is what we want. The top left is, I guess, what we have to have, solid color. And if you go to the next one, Scott, that's our existing one.
Please provide your name for the record.
Demetrius, Demetrios, Konstantopoulos,
Address, please.
8819 Ogden Avenue.
Great, thank you. Continue.
No, I guess that's it.
Questions of the petitioner before the staff report?
I do have a question, and perhaps staff can answer it, though. The images on page 42 and page 43 of the packet show 2 different monument signs. So I'm wondering which one was submitted or will be submitted for permit? Yeah.
I don't go off on a tangent here. The original submittal from the petitioner was for a pole sign, and we suggested a monument sign would be more appropriate, and maybe one of those got in there by mistake. The monument sign has been permitted by the building department. It meets all the requirements of the building, of the sign ordinance, 40 square feet, 5 feet from the property line. I'm not sure
It's just 2 different
which
images.
one's which.
Yeah,
wait.
I picked that up too.
Oh, yeah, that one is not it.
Yeah, that's just their, not the actual sign.
That was an earlier version,
So this one.
yeah.
No, that's not it either. It's less words, just the logo and an
Yeah,
arrow that says drive-through, that's it.
The palladium on the top went away. It's just rectangular.
If that's at all helpful.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the monument sign, or? Okay. So what is which of the 3 is being proposed?
It's really the awning.
The variance
Yeah,
is
right.
there.
Just
Because
the
my
awning,
understanding
okay.
is that the 2 signs that are allowed are in for permit, meet the requirements of the village. Everything's good, they don't need a variance for either of those.
That's correct.
And so the third sign, awning is considered a sign in this town. So the variance is for the awning. And then unbeknownst to me, and I love to learn stuff every day, is the village code does say the awning has to be a solid color.
That was going to be my next question.
Yep, the ordinance says that. So they want stripes to match their existing
Okay.
location. So those are really the 2 variances we're talking about. Correct?
That's correct. The awning stripes and then the words on the awning.
Okay.
And the words on the awning meet the awning sign requirements, but it would be a third, quote, permanent sign
Right.
type, wall, monument, and awning, which triggers a variation for that.
All right.
Thank you, because I was going to ask about that. So it would, if the words would still be allowed if we were going to just have a solid color and not allow stripes. they could still have beef, hot dogs, burgers written on there if we would not approve this stripes on the awning?
Currently, under the current ordinance, no. That would be a third permanent sign type. So they could have a plain blue awning with no words, no stripes, no nothing, or
I'm sorry, yeah, I do
variation for the
understand that
words,
part.
or variation for the stripes, or both.
Right, but even again, in this particular picture, the solid blue awning would still require a variance,
The solid blue awning would be permitted,
would be permitted.
correct?
Oh, I thought the awning was considered a sign, no?
No, just the words on the awning.
Oh, the words on the awning.
Yeah, so that.
I can't have all three, I can
Thank
have two.
That's why it's solid blue.
I got it.
not,
Yeah, I got it.
Words
All
or
right.
stripes.
I misspoke then, I
Yeah,
apologize.
the building
Okay.
department has issued the permit for the addition and renovation of this building. I'm kind of getting into my spiel here. And he's held off on the awning pending the outcome of these discussions.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
So then to clarify, the monument sign does not have the wording on it,
No.
beef, hot dogs, burgers,
No.
cut fries,
No.
gyros, okay.
All it's
There's
just the
no-
lo-
no
the logo
redundancy.
and drive through and an arrow, and that's it.
Other questions?
No.
Wow, that was quick. Somebody want to make a motion?
We need public comment.
Public comment, sorry. See, I always forget. Thanks for being here. Hearing none? Would someone like to make a motion for this case?
No.
That's changed too now.
I move to approve sign variations to allow a third permanent sign type and allow an awning that is not a solid color.
So moved.
I'll second.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka,
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Housekeeping, which I always forget. We are an advisory body. So we only advise the village board. They have the final decision in whenever this meeting is heard at the village board meeting. So they take our comments to heart, and then they vote to approve or disapprove. So good luck with the next steps. And with that, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing for case number 2505.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka,
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Thank you. Next
All right,
case.
thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along. Case number 2506, public hearing, you hear a request for a parking variation to reduce the required parking from 7 spaces to 3 spaces for La Flor, I'm going to get it wrong, Michioana Restaurant in the C3 Centralized Commercial District at 9211 Broadway Avenue. As this is a parking variation request, a public hearing is required. I'll entertain a motion to open that public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon,
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka,
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Petitioner and anybody, I assume the petitioner is here to state their case. And anybody else from the public that would like to speak on this case, please stand so I can swear you in. Please raise your right hand, sir. I state your name.
I, Sal Soto,
Swear the testimony I am about to give
swear the testimony that I'm about to give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
whole truth,
and nothing but the
and
truth.
nothing but the truth.
And again, state your name and address, and the floor is yours.
Sal Soto, 9211 Broadway Avenue. So pretty much trying to open up this ice cream shop here at the Eight Corners area. I was unaware that, about the parking ordinance that a restaurant, so for a restaurant business, there's a certain amount of parking per square feet that is required for business. I was unaware until Scott brought it up to my attention. So I'm here to ask for a variance for that, because realistically, I think we were able to cover only three spots, and that's what I'm here.
Questions of the applicant at this point?
In addition to ice cream, would you be serving food?
Yeah, yogurts, corn, prepared corn, ice cream, and a couple other things as well. I don't got the menu on top of my head, but
And what would your hours of operation typically be?
it'll probably be 10 to 9, 11 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And how many employees are present during a regular work shift?
Typically, we have 7. So 3 for the morning to afternoon shift, and then 3 for the evening shift, and 1 manager throughout the middle of the day.
So 4 people total?
At one
Would that be
time.
fair?
Oh, at one time? Oh, yeah, 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you have parking on in the rear of the building for your employees?
So we're allotted two spots because the building's a condo. So we're allotted 2 spots in the rear.
It would be your intention to have those dedicated to your staff, correct?
Correct, right.
Leaving the street open to
To-
your patrons and the other patrons that are on that street, right?
Right, correct.
Are those vehicle stalls marked for your business? Or
They
would
are.
they be marked for your
They
business?
are. The lines are there. They just need to be repainted. And I've spoken with the rest of the business owners there, and we think we got a plan in place to do so.
Other questions of the petitioner? Hearing none at this point. Staff, floor is yours.
That'll be quick. I'll do 211 Broadway, 8 Corners.
Is your mic on, sir? Sorry, Scott.
Now it's not working. Well, it's in the, well, I'll look at my notes. 9211 Broadway, it's in the 8 Corners. There's a survey we always show you folks. It's surrounded by C3 property on all three sides, 4 sides, a little bit of residential property where the middle school is. You can see the parking in the rear on that survey. There, the second space from the bottom on the right, third space from the top. There's the Mini Musicians on the left, and then the Mama Baroni's Pizza to the other side of this restaurant. That's the proposed floor plan. He is in for a permit for this, pending the outcome of this review and board approval or denial. So that's how we got the 7 spaces. 8,500 square foot, about 100 feet wide. There are 2 spaces in the rear, as Mr. Soto said. Obviously, they're doing a lot of work on the building. As the staff report says, there's extensive on-street parking at the 8 Corners, 270-ish, give or take, spots in the middle of the right-of-way there. And so based on all of those things, we believe that these standards found in 62760 that you're all familiar with on the board are met by this request, and the staff respectfully recommends approval of this variation request.
Questions of staff?
I have a question. So the previous use was a laundromat, correct? And what was required of the laundromat?
It fell under unspecified retail, oddly enough, that's what it's called. So it was 1 to 250, I think it was 4 spaces altogether.
Okay.
Other questions of the petitioner and or staff at this point before we start our deliberation? Public comment. Anybody like to comment on this case? My right-hand man at the ready. Hearing none, I'll start, even though Commissioner Evans probably is the expert here because he spends most of his time right next door. I'm going to address one of the standards here because I really think that this is a hardship for the petitioner. I've driven that area time and time again. I actually went and looked behind your location, your proposed location, and, you know, nobody has parking there. Nobody really has personal parking. Let's face it. I mean, and the way that street was set up, the way Broadway Avenue was set up and redone, what, 2 or 3 years ago, was to park everybody in the street and walk across the street. So, you know, I think, will this use hopefully will be a little bit more busy than a laundromat? You know, hopefully they'll bring more people in, which I think is a good, I always advocate that because, you know, maybe more eyes on the street, maybe your customers will start using some of the other, you know, the other restaurants around.
Right.
And, you know, Tischler's and CVS and all that. So I think, you know, in this case, the hardship is real, and I'm in favor of granting this request.
Well, a handful of things make me want to approve this. There's a relatively quick turnover in customers. I would imagine 15, 20 minutes in and out
Yeah.
if they're eating in or carry out. I would think that your business would complement that parking area. A lot of business late afternoon, evenings, weekends, when that area is relatively quiet. And I actually see this as more of a walk-to or bike-to destination for that whole part of town.
Yep.
The entire business district was built at a time in a different era of how people traveled, and it's unrealistic to think that they're not going to use cars, but your business complements that in the time periods that people will be there. It's not very long, but the hardship is imposed by the site, and I would be in favor of this because of that, and look forward to the improvement of that property.
And I agree with Commissioner Weber. I think this is going to attract pedestrians and bicyclists, and more so than the laundromat did.
Absolutely.
And we are looking forward, but I will say, looking back, there was a Joel's Deli that succeeded for a while, and there didn't seem to be any problems with parking when they were doing a very good business, particularly at the lunch hour, but it was beyond that. So I have no problem with parking being an issue, reducing the number of spaces from 7 to 3.
I'm going to suggest another, staff has a condition, and I'll do the recommendation for this one. Tell us again about the spots behind. There's 2 spots behind?
There's, I believe there's like a total of 8, and each business splits it up by 2.
2.
Yeah, and then part of that lot in the back, a piece of it is part of the dentist on the corner. The dentist is part of that, so.
But you are allotted 2 spaces back
Correct.
there. All right, because I'm gonna suggest as a recommendation that those 2 spaces be clearly signed as staff parking only for your business.
Okay.
So other people don't take them, so the dental patients don't take them, you know. Whether it gets enforced or not, who knows? But I think that's, you know, it kind of, we want to force your employees to park back there so they're not parking out in front. So,
Understood.
any other comments? All right. Then I am going to recommend approval of case number 2506, parking variation under section 62-290 to allow a restaurant with reduced parking of 2 on-site spaces dedicated to staff, plus a credit for 1 on the street versus the 7, subject to the following condition by staff: the property be developed in substantial compliance with the plans submitted with the variation application.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon?
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda?
Aye.
Commissioner Straka?
Aye.
Commissioner Weber? Aye. Chairperson Grund?
Aye. Good luck. Your next step is the village, your meeting with the village. When is that going to be? I should have asked. June 9th? Okay, so for the people out there, the cases that get approval from us today will be heard at the village chambers on June 9th. So with that, good luck. With that, I will request a motion to close the public hearing for case number 2506.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon?
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda?
Aye.
Commissioner Straka?
Aye.
Commissioner Weber? Aye. Chairperson Grund?
Aye. We all good? Anybody need a break? All right, let's keep going. Next case is, again, new business, case number 2507, a request for a special use permit, section 6203, to allow a dog grooming establishment at 9448 West 47th Street. As this is a request for a special use, it requires a public hearing. So can I have a motion to open that public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon?
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda?
Aye.
Commissioner Straka?
Aye.
Commissioner Weber? Aye. Chairperson Grund?
Aye. So those who are going to speak on this case, petitioner or public, please stand up so I can swear you in. Hello, ladies. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jennifer Navarez. I, Ida Cardona.
Swear the testimony I am about to give
Swear the testimony that I'm about to give
is the truth,
the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
Okay, so again, when you speak, tell us your name and your address, and the floor is yours.
I'm, excuse me, I'm Jennifer Navarez. I am with Midwest Signature Properties. I'm actually her real estate agent.
My name is Ida Cardona.
Please speak into the mic.
My
Thanks.
name is Ida Cardona, and I will be the business owner of the petitioner of the establishment.
Tell us what you want to do.
Sorry. I actually would like to open up a grooming salon, and I'm actually new to the area, and I think it will be a fun experience to bring this into Brookfield. I see that there is another business down the street. I just want to give it a shot, and I love working with dogs, animals, and show you guys what I want to bring in for the village.
What's your experience in the profession?
4 years, and I've actually worked with my boss over there, Evelyn, and yeah, that's my experience with her.
Other questions of the petitioner at this point?
Confirming hours of operation again?
It's actually going to be 9 to 5, Tuesday through Saturday.
And how many customers or dogs would you service at any one time?
So we're only looking to service, or they are looking to service 2 dogs at a time. They're anticipating about 4 to 7 appointments per day. And because we are only taking, or they're only taking appointments, we anticipate that, you know, the safety of the dogs wouldn't really be in jeopardy.
And I understand a typical appointment takes 2 hours approximately,
Approximately 2 to 3 hours, according to.
and
my-
drop off and pick up is typically just a matter of minutes in and out?
Correct.
There's no intention for boarding of animals, correct?
No.
Other questions of the petitioner? Staff? Floor is yours.
Okay, pardon me. Okay, 9448 West 47th. Of course, it's the dog grooming salon. Ooh. And the Telltale plan of surveys, it's L-shaped building. The proposed salon is about 1,000 square feet down on that lower left. There's 5 residential units upstairs, and the rest of this building is used for basically storage, industrial storage. It is zoned industrial, I should say. It's industrial on the east and west, it's industrial in McCook to the south, and of course, it's single-family here in town to the north across the alley. That's the building. If you go by there today, there's the barber shop sign in the window, which I'm told never actually occurred. It's been vacant for about 2 years before the cutest dog came along and wanted to rent the space. I've been by this location a dozen times in the last month or so. During the day, there's like, that pickup truck is always there, but there's like 2 cars in this parking lot, and there's 7 spaces on the alley as well. You did receive, well, let me finish this first. As the floor plan there, you can see it's lower left corner as we enter, that's the register, the grooming spaces, 2 restrooms, and then the grooming spaces in the back. You did receive, the staff did receive, and we presented to you, 1 email that we received from a concerned resident stating their concern about cars and traffic and so forth. They do state that there's no parking on Du Bois, I guess it is, Du Bois Street, which actually isn't so. There is parking on both sides of the street, parallel on the east side adjacent to this building, and then perpendicular angled parking on the other side by Swan's Dry Cleaner. There is another dog grooming location 3 blocks to the east, Frisky Dog, much, much larger. Boarding, grooming, training, outdoor daycare for dogs, totally different type of facility than this. And that was referenced in the citizen question as well. These are the standards you're all familiar with, and even more standards you're all familiar with. And staff believes that those standards have been met. We can discuss those if you like. And so because we believe those standards have been met, we respectfully request approval of this special use permit, for the dog grooming salon.
Before you leave that slide, your condition says the property to develop in compliance with the floor plan submitted with the application, which makes me smile because they're going to have to get a building permit for this.
Yeah,
which
they'll have to
obviously they'll
dial that up
need
a
something a
little
little bit more elaborate than
They're
no
working on it.
disrespect, the cartoon.
Yeah, they're working on it.
Yeah. So,
Substantial conformity.
okay, questions of staff?
The residential units on the second floor, are those apartments? Are they,
I believe they're apartments, there's 5.
they're rented?
Yes,
Okay, and that'll remain?
remain the same, and I believe the parking spaces where you saw the truck, those are all designated for residential. According to the owner, the ones that he's designating to them are the ones by the alley, and obviously there's parking on both sides of the street. There's a total of 7, he's allotting them 5.
Question of staff, often variances come with an umbrella. Under what we approved tonight for a dog grooming salon, under that umbrella, boarding does not exist. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
So if we approve dog grooming, it does not approve dog boarding. If anything were to change, there would have to be another variance asked for to change the business substantially.
Yeah, there'd be another special use, but yes, another public hearing.
Thank you.
Anything else? Comments from the public on this particular case?
Does staff have, I have 2 additional emails from residents on this case. Does staff have those available to read into the record? Okay, well then I will read them into the record. The first email was from Tuesday from a Charles LeCory. He says, I am a 20-plus year resident of Brookfield. I understand there is a zoning meeting this Thursday. Since I'm unable to attend, I would like you to know about my concerns about the proposed grooming business on the corner of 47th Street and Du Bois. This is just down the street from me. This is a very dangerous corner. I've seen numerous hazards and near misses and speeding cars, including e-bikes there. I'm concerned about any animal brought into this area. There's no off-street parking, so dogs and any children with them will be in a dangerous situation. Frisky dog grooming and boarding is just a few blocks away. As a longtime Brookfield business should be considered, I strongly urge the commission not to approve this business. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. And I believe we've addressed the parking situation. And then the second was from an Ashley, oh, this one's longer, I'm sorry. From an Ashley Jarrell. Hello, my name is Ashley Jarrell, and I live on the 4400 block of Du Bois. It has come to my attention that a dog grooming business is seeking a permit to operate on the 4600 block of Du Bois. As an avid dog lover, I am excited to have more options for this service in town. However, I am concerned about the safety of that location for the following reasons. 1, parking. There's inadequate parking on that corner to safely drop off and pick up dogs. I worry that owners and dogs will have many near misses or worse, a horrible accident because there isn't a safe place for them to drop off. Additionally, the issue will be compounded with weekly street cleaning half the year. 2, speed. The speed people fly down Du Bois off of 47th Street has always been problematic, but with the construction project that has no end in sight, it has gotten worse. Patrons and animals exiting and entering that location are at risk, and the proper speed enforcement has gone unnoticed with the police or village. It has not. Please consider these concerns when looking to approve this permit. I think having new businesses in Brookfield is fantastic, but there are plenty of safer building options in town to provide a less hazardous experience. And she provides her phone number and email. That was Ashley Jarrell. And I know sometimes we allow the petitioner to rebut. So,
Thanks. Other questions at this point? Hearing none, who would like to make a motion in this case?
I will. So I recommend approval of case 25-07 for a special use permit under section 62-30 to allow a dog grooming establishment at 9448 West 47th Street.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Sabor.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grum.
Aye. Good luck with your next step at the Village Hall.
Very much.
With that, I will have a motion to close Planning and Zoning case number 2507, the request for a special use permit for the said dog grooming establishment.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Sabor.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grum.
Aye. Moving right along, 2 to go. Next on the agenda, case number 2508, a request for a variation from section 62.17 to allow a 526 square foot garage that exceeds the maximum of 472 square feet at 3936 North Maple Avenue. As this is a variation request, it triggers a public hearing. So can I have a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Sabor.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straka.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grum.
Aye. Obviously, you're the petitioners here. Anybody else in the public would like to speak on this case? Stand up and raise your hand. So please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, David Friesick,
Swear the testimony I am about to give
swear the testimony I'm about to give
is the truth,
is the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
The floor is yours. Please state your name and address. And I would say, let's start with the petitioner.
My name is Andrew Geisert. I live at 3936 Maple Avenue.
I am Tiffany Geisert. I also live at 3936 Maple Avenue.
Great. Floor is yours.
Case in point.
Yep.
You said 526 square feet, it's actually 528.
Okay.
Come back.
Thanks for your honesty. Go ahead.
So we're looking to build a garage. We've lived in Brookfield for 10 years at this location. We don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. We've done several improvements to the house. This has been the next step for us, is we've never had a garage in the backyard. It's just a bad old fence, and we would like to put a garage there. Main reason is both of us have had our personal vehicles on the street for that 10 years. My pickup truck has been hit twice by teenagers, egged, keyed. Maple Avenue is a little busy, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. My wife's car had been hit previously also. The reason for asking for the larger square footage is, being that I have the pickup, I need a slightly bigger garage to fit my car and her car, and that would also include space on the side. So we're either like 2.5 car for my lawnmower, snow blower, yard implements, stuff like that.
Questions of the petitioner? All right, I'm gonna have something to say before staff. And I think these two gentlemen right here maybe remember this case from a long time ago. There's this little funny wordage in the code about accessory buildings and this 100 square foot allowance to do something in the backyard. And that was specific to sheds. So people could have a garage that was compliant, and then they could come back to the village and say, you know what, we need, for our snow blower and this and that, we need another shed. So so in this particular case, you're asking for a 56 square foot variance, which under the letter of the law, if you took that 100 square foot rule, you could do a shed of 44 square feet, all right? And the rule in the code says you have to record that with the county so that if you ever sold the house, the people that you're buying a house would know that, So again, you heard me talk about this because you've been sitting there all night patiently. If we consider giving you something, the variance, I would suggest that maybe in this particular case, if we allow it, that no other accessory buildings could be built on this lot.
Yeah, that is the plan, that the shed I currently have would be gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you'd be amenable to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other questions?
Are there going to be gutters on the garage?
Every garage I built gets gutters.
Very
Don't care where
good.
you
And I would ask, I've lived in Brookfield a long time. I have an alley too similar to yours. Any thoughts on running the downspouts into the green space of the backyard rather than into the alley?
I'm certainly open to the idea. It's up to the owner, obviously. They could maybe connect them to rain barrels. You may not be aware that under current regulations, and Scott could possibly correct me if I'm wrong, there's been some changes to the stormwater regulations, or maybe a rereading of the ordinance and interpretation of it. I just did a job recently last fall where we tore down a 1.5 car garage and put in a 3 car off of an alley. It was compliant, but the homeowner had to spend close to $10,000 of additional money installing a dry well to hold stormwater for that project. I do these all the time now in many west suburbs. And it's, I was actually a guest speaker at DuPage County Stormwater Hearings by invitation in 2014. So I do know a little bit about this issue. We always do gutters. If the village would pave the alleys and put in sewers, which I know would be very expensive, then we could dump the water to the alleys. But until that happens, I'm sure that they would be fine putting gutters in the back and put up some rain barrels on or
Yeah,
something.
into the grass?
Yeah. That wouldn't be an issue. The 10% rule is, in my professional opinion, I've been doing this 35 years for 3 companies, that 10% rule is substandard. I don't know of any other jurisdiction that has it. Even more heavily developed communities like Oak Park allow 20% for accessory structures on a lot, regardless of lot size, as long as it complies with the green space requirements.
That's appreciated, but we have to follow the rules.
I know, I'm just
Yeah, yeah.
commenting that
Yep.
maybe back when the Brookfield was originally developed,
you know, and we had one-car families. Today, we have multi-car families.
Yeah.
In addition to that, with larger pickup trucks and SUVs, we need larger buildings. There's no clear-cut definition of what constitutes a two-car garage or a two-and-a-half car.
Right.
It's all predicated on the size of the vehicles and the storage needs. Yeah, I can tell you, many communities have minimum garage requirements, and mandatory garage requirements too. So, I'm open to any questions.
The exciting thing is we're going through a code revision process right now, and in
fully aware
the
of it,
fall,
yeah.
you'll get to see that, I'm sure. Just a point of clarity in, you know, if the alleys were improved, we could dump the water into the alleys and it would go into the sewers. I mean, actually, no, right? We want to capture some of that in green space. That's not inundating our sewer systems. That's the stormwater management requirements that have been put into place in the village over time. And my question is for the village, not necessarily the petitioner. So I think I have to wait because I don't think we've talked. Have we talked to the village side yet on this?
No.
No, so I'll wait.
Other questions of the petitioner at this point? All right, Scott, floor is yours, and then Mark can get his question out.
Floor is mine. Well, of course, you've heard 3936 Maple. That's the site there in the upper left-hand corner. So it's zoned A1. Of course, it's zoned A1 all around it, single-family homes. You can see, as the petitioner mentioned, they've done some improvements to the house. The upper right is the view from the street, and the lower left is the view from the unpaved alley where the garage would go. Of course, the obligatory survey and the contractor's sketch as to where that garage would be located. The lot itself, pardon me, as you said, it's 4,722 square feet, about 38 feet wide, 125 feet deep. There's the garage, 22 by 24, 528 square feet, which I wrote down here, and I had a typo on the thing. I apologize for that. And background information and all the material I just said. He did reference the green space. It does meet the 40% minimum green space, and it is below 35% coverage. So, in our opinion, those are the primary concerns in a situation like this. That said, we believe they meet the standards for the variations, and we recommend that that variation be approved for the garage, with, of course, the condition recommended by the chair.
Thank you, Scott. Questions of staff?
This project, if approved, obviously moves through the permit process, and all stormwater management concerns would come into that permitting process, correct?
That's correct.
Where you could see, as you said, a substantial dollar increase just to make sure that we are storing that in a correct way, because it's not necessarily just the alleys that may need improvement in many of the suburbs, western suburbs, but also the stormwater or the combined sewer systems as well. So I think that was the spirit of making sure when we take impermeable space away, that we figure out what to do with that water as well.
Other questions of staff or the petitioner at this point? Questions from the public on this particular case? All right. Before we deliberate, I just want to make it clear that that was merely a suggestion on my part about no accessory structure. So, you know, if we're okay with the garage size of 528 square feet and you want to allow another 100 square foot shed, I'm okay with that too. But I always think that, you know, it's a variance. So we're allowing them to build a bigger garage than the code allows, so, you know, there should be some give and take, but I'm willing to listen. Go ahead.
Sure. No, I'm in favor of this request. It's not only you're meeting the green area requirement, but you're also respecting the side yard setbacks as well, so we're not compromising there. I do like the condition that no other accessory buildings be allowed.
As do I.
I think you're making an improvement to the area by taking a congested street and pulling parking off of it. I think that there's an improvement that comes to the greater area from this. Again, conditions of the site were built at a different time, have been improved, and it falls within what used to exist and what now exists. There's a hardship on that site, and for me, I think that this is an improvement that should be allowed, and I would support not putting the additional accessory shed or whatever, however you wanted it, but I also, I think, you know, the code does allow for that, and if they want to build that and take up more of their yard with it, that would be within their right to do that, so it could go either way with it.
I will comment that, yeah, the plan is also because the shed, to me, is unsafe. I grew up on the north side. I'm like, that thing's gonna get robbed at one point in time. I'd rather have it all in my garage. So the goal is to get rid of the shed.
But just be clear, it could be a burden if that's written into the county rules when you sell the property, so. But again, that, I like the comment about, you know, you have green space now, you know, so again, another 100-square-foot shed, then maybe you're pushing that envelope, where, you know, not only the green space, but then the drainage again, so, you know, so. Somebody want to make a motion? Commissioner Saborn, you've been quiet tonight.
I make a motion that we approve the variation from section 62.17 to allow for a 528 square foot garage that exceeds the maximum of 472 square feet at 3936 North Maple Avenue,
With the condition?
with the condition that no other accessory structure is constructed with this request.
And downspouts to green space.
And downspouts to the green space and not to be directed toward the alleys.
Second.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn,
Aye.
Commissioner Swoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka,
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. First step. Good luck with the village.
June 9th, I believe.
June 9th.
Thank you.
That completes this case, case number 2508. Do I have a request to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn,
Aye.
Commissioner Swoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka,
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Last case of the night. So this is planning and zoning case number 2509, a request for a special use permit to section 62-30 to allow coffee roasting facility at 9525 Southview Avenue. As this is a request for a special use, it requires a public hearing. And so do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn,
Aye.
Commissioner Swoboda,
Aye.
Commissioner Straka,
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Those who would like to speak on this case, if you're members from the public or the petitioner, please stand up now so I can swear you all in. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Swear the testimony I am about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thanks so much. Assuming you are the petitioner, please state your name and address, and the floor will be yours.
Hi, my name's Dan Chauvin. I live at 4537 Clausen Ave in Western Springs.
If you could move the mic closer so that we can hear you a little bit better, that'd be great. Thank you.
Is that better?
That's
Yes.
better.
All right, my name's Dan Chauvin. I live at 4537 Clausen Ave in Western Springs.
I own a small batch, we're a family-owned small batch coffee roasting company called Daydream Coffee. I operate it myself. Currently operating out of Opera Provisions, which is another business we own in Western Springs. It's approximately 600 square feet, and it's like a multifaceted business. So we have the coffee roastery and cafe in the morning, and we have a small bottle shop, like a boutique bottle shop in there. And by night, it's also a coffee bar and music venue. And it being only about 600 square feet, we're kind of having some space and time constraints. So we're looking to move the coffee roaster out of that facility and into a dedicated facility of its own to bring that element of the business out, to free up some space and create more efficiency in how we operate that business.
Questions of the petitioner?
Can you explain how that business works for those of us that might not be quite as familiar with coffee roasting, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So being small batch, I believe the standard is 100 pounds or under per batch. We operate a 15-pound batch roaster, so that would be considered extremely small in the industry. On that roaster, we do about 12.5 pounds per batch, just because we don't want to put too much wear and tear on the machine itself. With that, to operate that element of the business, I roast approximately 1 to 3 days a week or 3 to 4 days a week for 1 to 3 hours a week. So approximately, 25 to 50 pounds per roasting day, which would be considered a small amount of coffee.
So in your current location, how many square feet of that business is currently taken up by the roasting facility?
I would say approximately 50 to 70.
And this, just for the record, this space you're moving into is how many square feet?
I think it's all in about 500.
And so what you just described in terms of your coffee roasting, would it be the same in the new facility if you're so approved?
It would be similar. I think we expect to grow a little bit as well. But if we were to grow to a certain point, we would have to move out of the facility that we're petitioning for now.
And during what hours would you consider roasting?
Currently, we roast early in the morning or in the middle of the day, so between the hours of 5 and 7 a.m., and between noon and 3 to 3:30, given the nature of our operating hours of the business itself.
I think we've seen public comment start to come through with different letters and things like that. I'm sure you're
Yeah.
aware that some things are coming in now.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk us through, if we went to your business now, between those operating hours, what aromatics would we experience? What might we see on our end from the outside as someone who either lives near your business, operates a business near your business, or walks by as would be in this current location?
Yeah, good question. So if you were to walk by while we were roasting coffee, you would probably smell like something like baking bread. For approximately 2 to 3 minutes of the roasting time, you'd probably be some visible smoke going into the air. I wouldn't call it heavy smoke. It just depends on the degree and the length of time you're roasting the coffee. So for like darker roasted coffee, you're roasting longer, so you're getting smoke for a longer period of time. But it's typically between 1 to 3 minutes of smoke emission throughout the entire 15-minute roast. Roasts usually take 15 to 17 minutes.
Go ahead.
In this facility, what would be the peak roasting ability, capability?
I mean, technically, I could fit a larger machine in there, which could double or triple the capacity of the current roaster. That being said, the roast time doesn't change. So if I were to upgrade to, let's say, a 60-pound machine or 30-pound machine, the roasting time, while the capacity would increase, the roasting time would remain the same. So does that answer?
And would that in turn double the volume of smoke or increase the intensity of the scent in the air?
I would suspect that it would increase that to a certain degree. To what degree, I'm not certain.
Have you had any complaints at your current location about the odor?
We've had no complaints at all. We're approximately 100 feet from a resident, multiple residents, where we back up to, there's a small lot between us and Village Hall. We neighbor the police station, and the fire department is just across the way from us as well. And we haven't heard any concerns from any of those parties or any residents.
Other questions of the petitioner at this point?
Just for clarification, there'd be no roasting on the weekends?
I try not to. I can't guarantee that there wouldn't be, but I would agree to that as a condition.
And since I know nothing about coffee roasting at all, is there any such device that would be considered a filter or something to reduce the scent being emitted?
There is a device called an afterburner. It's an add-on. The only issue with that in the stage of my company is that it's, for my size, it's not, a lot of roasters wouldn't consider it necessary for my size. It's also about a $20,000 investment. It's the typical market price for an afterburner. What that does is it adds another heating element that the exhaust runs through, and it basically, if you've seen that Solo stove, it works similar to that, where it burns the exhaust again, and then it reduces the amount of emissions going out.
Does it just reduce the smoke, or smoke and smell?
Smoke and smell.
Any other questions of the petitioner at this time? All right, Scott, let's hear from staff, please.
Sorry, had the special use. Our code specifically calls out coffee roasting, which to those of us that are new to town, found interesting. It does limit it to 5 pounds, or 5 kilos, 5 kilo size, which is 15 pounds, if I'm thinking correctly, or 11. I did the math, I forgot what it was.
It's a 15-pound capacity.
Okay. Here's the survey. So 125 feet wide, about 300 feet on the average deep. You've got industrial and LaGrange to the west, of course, industrial I-2 here in town, east and south, and then the residential, the A residential single-family district across Southview Avenue to the north. This is the subject property. Daydream?
Yes,
Coffee,
that's correct.
Daydream Coffee is proposed to be in the front of this building. If you're familiar with this building, it's got this residential-looking structure in the front, and then there's the more traditional industrial in the back. In the back, it's basically a warehouse. I think Hortons of LaGrange is back there, and then Lofton Landscaping has an office there, and has a lot of their landscape material stored back there as well. I should back up to the east. Of course, you have industrial to west, the ideal, what do they make? Ideal to the east, heating company to the east, and then the sweetener supply on the other side of that ideal heating building. This is the floor plan, very small, like you said, it's about 500 square feet. The door in the lower left, and then the door on the lower right, I believe that goes into, if I'm not mistaken, that may go into the Loftus landscape space that is kind of behind here a little bit. So, Zone I-2, restricted light industrial, it's about a 38,000 square foot lot, 2-story building, as I said. Well, there's all the material there. Coffee roasting is a special use called out specifically in our zoning ordinance. As we learned from some of the public comment that 14, 15, 16 years ago, coffee roasting was an issue, and my assumption is that's why it's specific in our code now, to have these public hearings for that use. These are the standards you're familiar with for the special use permits, compatibility with the use and intent of the purpose of the district. This is the only I-2 area in the village, and the coffee roasting is only permitted as a special use in the I-2. So, you know, the area between Southview and the railroad tracks, that triangular portion, if you will, is the only place in town where this could go, and it requires a special use for that. Compatibility with the site of the vicinity, special actions contemplated to modify any issues that may be the aroma and the smoke. We've looked at it, we've tried to educate ourselves on coffee roasting, perhaps like the commission has, but we feel that they do meet these requirements. And then we recommend that it be recommended for approval by this body for Daydream Coffee.
Can you go back to the overall site plan, please? So, that's fine. So, no, the plan with the zoning district plan with the houses to the north. Okay. So, all right, so you're on essentially your location is the first floor of what I'm calling the old house, the residential building to the north. And the neighbors the residential district is just north of you.
That's correct.
Right,
So,
okay, all right.
In this diagram.
Yep, okay. So, this one's troubling for me in that I honestly expected more information on the whole process of mitigating the smells. I don't even know if there are smells. I wish somebody had put a package together to educate us better, because I don't know anything about coffee roasting either. All I know is, as was previously stated, we've gotten more letters and comments on this particular application than maybe we've ever had, and I and a couple of my colleagues here have been here a long time. So this one, you know, hit some buttons. And so I don't know if it was staff's obligation or the owner's obligation, but somebody should have recognized that and said, you know, this is what the coffee process is. This is what we're gonna, this is the smoke or the smells that should be expected, you know. I didn't realize that it was such a small operation, frankly, you know. But then I see a picture that was presented to me today that I see the coffee, you know, machine, and I see 2 exhaust pipes going out to the outside. So I assume that there's some type of smells, but I have no idea what those smells are. And so I don't know how a recommendation could be brought forward without more knowledge, but that's just me.
I can provide a little more insight if you'd like. I can provide a little more insight if you'd like.
Then the one concern I have is that as presented this evening, it seems like it's relatively low impact, you know, X number of cycles a day for 15 minutes. Hopefully with your business comes success. And I'm always considering a worst-case scenario. So worst-case scenario being suddenly there's coffee roasting running from 5 a.m. straight through to 5 p.m. You know, countless batches a day. And as presented, I can see where it might not be a big deal, but if it suddenly turns into a very, very, very successful business, it could become more of an issue in the neighborhood. So how do you put limits on number of batches, hours of actual coffee roasting, size of the roaster? Again, I would hope for your sake you do very well. If this was approved with a current 15-pound batch, could you potentially, with this approval, put in that 30, 60, 70-pound batch machine? Again, just being the bad guy here.
I think I have a question for staff first, sorry. As public comment came in on this, was it all at once today, the last couple days, or has this kind of been a slow trickle since it was posted?
Yeah, just this week.
Okay, and that's helpful for me. I just wonder, right, part of putting a business and going against what the variance is, and the reason why public is allowed into this is because it could potentially have an impact on them. And when we have a packet and it recommends approval It's have we also looked to see if the residents are saying that they're concerned about the smell that comes with it. It's to your point, what's the diligence on our end to say, we've been in Western Springs, we've gone to his business, there's absolutely no smell. There's a terrible smell with sweetener supply. The diesel trains that run up and down the railroad tracks, but that's been there, right? This is new, this is coming in, so what are we doing on our end to vet that and say, there is no impact? And we've met with the village, we've met with the police station in Western Springs. Again, these are all things coming up here, but saying like, our residents are concerned about that, and hearing from those people saying, this is not an impactful place. Have we done diligence like that yet, or no?
No, we have not gone to Western Springs. This all just came up this week.
Thanks.
That triggers another question then for me. Were you done? Sorry.
I am. Yep.
Okay. Did staff, and I didn't, did staff research the code to see if there's exhaust requirements? Because I know like in restaurants, exhaust has to be a certain certain number of feet away from, the barbecue place at Eight Corners, for instance. Those things are up on the roof because they had to be there. They had to be a certain distance away. If, I'm
like
sure
the
some of
black
those
iron.
smells at some point, if anybody lives there, if the wind's blowing the right way, no matter what happens, you're gonna get some of that smell from the barbecue, So I don't know if,
The building-
I don't know if there's rules for coffee roasting like that.
I assume there are. The building staff hasn't reviewed this yet for a permit. They'll do that pending outcome of the petition.
So that being said, we don't even know if there's rules in the code that would require Dan to do certain things to make sure the exhaust doesn't affect the residents.
No.
Okay. All right.
Can provide some more information.
And we'll get there. Any other questions at this point?
Well, that was the reason I asked him if there were any complaints.
Right.
And, he's saying there have not been any. Is there some documentation maybe that you could try and provide?
Yes, the village president, Heidi Rudolph, wrote a letter of support for me.
I did see
Should be with the documentation.
Okay.
I did see that.
I have a question regarding the afterburner. The afterburner sounds like it's part of the roasting process. Is that correct? It's
Yeah,
integral to
so
the-
that's correct. As the coffee's roasting, the exhaust goes directly into the afterburner.
Okay.
As long as it's on and activated. You can go through the afterburner without using it if it's activated, but it will always go through it first before it exits the facility.
Do you know of anything that can be more or less down the line as the exhaust penetrates the exterior wall, for example, like a charcoal filter, which often helps in many other conditions like this?
I think that's a good question. I haven't actually done research on that myself. I could imagine there being some sort of ionic filter, but I don't know if that exists for this purpose.
Okay.
In general, the smell smells like baking bread, and the roaster produces less smoke exhaust than a charcoal grill and far less than a fireplace.
And that's good information to know, I think.
Thank you.
Anything else at this point? All right, Dan, I'm going to ask you to have a seat.
Okay.
And we'll.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we're still in a public hearing, so we may call you back. Who wants to start from the public? We're obviously a friendly group here. Don't be shy. Come up to the mic and state your name and address, please, and we'll hear your comments.
Good evening. I'm Dan Ludovici. I live across the street from the proposed facility. Couple of things. I ask that the letter from the president of West Springs not taken into account. He's happy that the roaster is moving out of his village and is coming to Brookfield. I'm a professional engineer licensed in Michigan. I can guarantee you that the roasting process produce a lot of smoke, a lot of fumes, and is bad for the environment, for our kids that live in the area. We already penalized by the truck from the sugar facility, moving up and forth, back and forth. I don't think we need another issue. The previous ordinance that requested the special hearing for coffee roasting is a proof that there is an issue with that process. I don't think that's needed. The additional thing is the taxes you're going to collect from this business is going to be outweighed by the reduction in property values for our buildings and the taxes that we're going to pay to you. So when you come to cost and benefits for the village, there is none. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Come right up.
Hi, my name is Kathy Parpovich, and I live at 3849 Kemen. So I'm on the corner of Kemen and Southview. So I'm close enough to it, and I'm just worried about the fumes. That's what I'm worried about. And I'm retired, so I'm home all the time. So it's not like, okay, well, you said, are you going to work on the weekends? Because people work during the week, but there are a lot of us that are there that are retired. I've been in my home since 1978, and I don't want my property values to go down, and I don't want the smell. And that's what I'm concerned about.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mike McQuillan. I live at 3804 Blanchard, so directly on the street north of the proposed facility. I submitted an email for public record earlier this afternoon highlighting current village ordinance, the codes. So as said, currently in the code, coffee roasting of more than 5 kilos is considered a moderate impact to the properties and the adjacent properties with noticeable off-site impacts in terms of noise, smoke, particulate matter, odors, or vibration. This is directly from section 6226 in our ordinance. So you mentioned earlier you weren't sure how many pounds that was. So 5 kilos is about 11 pounds. So batch size, whether on the small side or the maximum of his capacity, exceeds that. And then if he's going to be doing 25 to 50 pounds per day, I mean, we're well over the maximum allowable. Additionally, proposed use here must meet the requirements listed in section 6282.821E to recommend approval for the special use permits. It is my opinion that the proposed special use does not meet those criteria. I see little to no necessity or desirability to the village of Brookfield and its residents. The coffee roasted in this proposed facility will presumably be used for consumption in Western Springs, generating sales tax in Western Springs. So I see no direct service provided to Brookfield or its residents, and obviously no convenience. It's an inconvenience to the residents here. Most importantly, it will not provide the prerequisite welfare that is listed in the code to the village and its residents. As our own village code, as I said, it creates a noticeable off-site impact. And as the zoning property here shows, directly to the north, the property where the production of roasting will be occurring is directly on the northern end of this property, right across from the residential zone. So the biggest impact will be to the children in the area. There's about 10 to 15 children on the block within 1 or 2 blocks, and they love to play within 250 feet, the properties that are about 250 feet from this proposed facility. So I really don't see where the benefit is in convenience and welfare for our local community and the residents of that area, especially the children. So, as I said in my statement earlier, I strongly urge that we follow current Brookfield ordinances regarding coffee roasting and reconsider their recommendation and not approve case 2509. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearing's still available. Come on up.
One thing I forgot to mention, sorry about that. The facility is going to be south of the houses. The most prevalent wind blows from the south to the north. So we're going to be impacted 90% of the times. The wind would blow the other direction would have been maybe a different story, but the wind is always blowing north, from south to north. So it's always going to be in our yards, in our houses, and we're going to smell it all the time. So that should be, another thing should be considered. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Chop. I'm the owner of the property at 9525 Southview Avenue. I just wanted to mention, I think someone had pointed out that the grills, we all use grills. If this coffee roasting operation puts off smoke, it's probably to a lesser degree than what grilling in your backyard would do. Beside that, the I-2 zoning, I think Scott mentioned, is the only zoning where coffee roasting would be allowed in Brookfield with a special use. So if we're saying we have these restrictions on coffee roasting, then there's no place in Brookfield that this would be allowed with or without conditions. I don't know what happened 15 or 20 years ago with the coffee roasting situations, but I think we have an opportunity to put conditions on a use either through volume or venting, or to understand more what the smells might be and how they might impact the neighbors. So we certainly want to be a good neighbor as well. And there's probably other uses that could go into this facility that wouldn't require special use, that may have a bigger impact on the neighbors, and we wouldn't be here to talk about. Not that we're looking to do that by any means, but it's something that it potentially could happen. So. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from the public at this point? Dan, do you care to rebut anything that you've heard at this point? While you're coming up, I do have a question for staff. I've heard a couple of comments about coffee roasting is prohibited. I didn't see that in the code. What I saw was coffee roasting is allowed by special use in the I-2 district. Is that true? Okay, so there's no prohibition on coffee as long as it's in the I-2 district and it follows the special use requirements. Okay, just want to make that clear. No, I'm just talking about our code allows it. So people say it's prohibited, but it's not.
I'm not suggesting it's prohibited, but it's considered a moderate impact, industrial impact. Hence why we're here.
Understood.
Because it requires a special use permit.
And I wasn't responding to your comments, sir. I heard somebody else say specifically that coffee roasting was prohibited in the code. It's not true.
Yeah, I mean.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dan.
I just want to address a few of the comments. First and foremost, I would never petition or go through with this meeting if I felt like there was going to be an impact to children. I think that's an extremely sensitive subject to bring up. The vent pipe we're going to put onto the building as part of the HVAC system would be as high or higher than the chimney and would have the same type of clearance. So the impact, there would be little to no smoke impacting a neighbor's yard. It only lasts, again, for 2 to 3 minutes. In terms of sound, vibration, et cetera, you cannot hear the roaster operating outdoors at all whatsoever. It's completely self-contained. It gets loud inside because it has a blower fan that's attached to it. Otherwise, it sounds like you're basically taking like a bingo, I don't know what you call them, like roller, and like rolling around like beans inside of it or something. When the blower's on, it's louder, but again, you can't hear that outside at all. There's zero vibration produced by the machine as well. And again, it produces less smoke than a fireplace does. There's also no fumes that are emitted. There's no chemicals used in the processing of coffee at all whatsoever. It's CO2 that is emitted from the coffee roaster as a result of combustion of natural gas. And the prevailing wind in Chicagoland for most of the years from the south, only in 2 months of the year. So even if there were enough exhaust emitted at a low enough height to be pushed downward from the sky into somebody's yard, most of the year it would go in the opposite direction.
Thank you.
Can I
Dan.
ask you, Dan, I'm sorry. I just wanted to, for the record, offer something. I think it was stated in the, one of the public comments that Western Springs was looking to potentially get rid of you and your business use. Heidi Rudolph is the village president of Western Springs, is that correct?
That is correct.
And she comes there both mornings and evenings?
She does, absolutely.
Okay, and she hasn't noticed a roasting smell? I think that's important for us.
She has not.
Okay, and she wrote this, okay.
Did you say there was a comment that Western Springs was looking to get rid of my business?
That is what was stated. Maybe I'm incorrect, but.
Western Springs, the village of Western Springs in particular, has been the #1 supporter of my business. Village staff regularly patronize the business. The police officers gather in the coffee shop every single morning, except Fridays. And so that statement is completely without merit to my knowledge.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to lean on council now. We've gotten, go ahead, sorry, sir. Go right ahead.
I don't know the person, I don't know his qualifications. Again, I'm a professional engineer, licensed in Michigan. I design power plants. I understand very well chimneys. I do plume dispersion all day, every day. I deal with safety analysis and pollution. The height being above the other houses, it doesn't matter. If the wind blows the right direction, the right speed, the plume will spread in our yards. It will go down, it will, it's well known that if you have pollutant in the air from a chimney, you find them in the ground, you find them in our water. Right? So it doesn't really matter how high it is, unless it's extremely high. But we are talking about a first floor house level, a little bit higher, so that doesn't matter. As far as the fumes and the smoke, we can quantify that it does smell, it does make smoke, no more than a barbecue. And the other thing is, there is no limitation. I'm gonna do 1 pound in the morning, 1 pound in the evening, then it becomes 15, 20, 50, 100. They only need 50 square feet out of 600 while they're moving into a new facility. If it is roasted so small that it can stay in Western Springs, why does it come to a brand new 6,500 square feet house? What is the need for that? It's such a small amount, it can stay where it is. The intention is probably to increase the output, and then we're gonna pay the consequences because there's gonna be no limit to that. And if you need the technical documentation of what I'm saying, about the spread, the plumes, I'll be happy to write something ready. Thank you.
Anything else at this point? Okay. And council or staff can answer this question. So this is a unique situation for me. I've received personal emails in the last couple days, sheets of paper, mostly negative. We were presented some today as we walked in. It was on our, and then staff got some as well. We weren't presented these before the public meeting. So I think that's, do we have to read all those into the public hearing?
You can, but given everything that I've heard tonight, I mean, my personal and professional opinion would be to continue this and have staff and the petitioner get all this information that everybody here has asked about and you've requested and everybody else, and maybe get a bigger pack of information that can then be disseminated to all
Yep.
the commissioners so you can make a more informed decision.
Yep, you read my mind. So, and to one of the, I'm sorry I didn't remember everybody's name from the public, but I did copy section 2624, offensive smells prohibited. So there's language in our code that specifically addresses this issue. So anybody that comes into town can't do a business that produces offensive smells. Plain and simple, right? So I think based on legal counsel and then, the preparation of all this documentation that we got, I think it's clear what people are worried about here is the smells. And we have no idea if you produce any smells. I don't know. Staff doesn't know, we don't know. So I think based on council's recommendation, I'd say you need to do a lot more homework, get a full package. How, if it is smells, how is it gonna be, directed away from residences? But again, if it's minimal, it's probably less than the guy that burns his garbage 2 houses down from me every day, and I get the smells in my yard. Everybody that lives in Brookfield, you get it, right? So some of it is being a good neighbor. And, the petitioner said, if he's smelling up all your houses, you're gonna drive him right out of town, right out of business. And if he's willing to take that risk, then, so I would recommend that we continue and, prepare a lot more information so that we can become educated, staff can become educated, and ultimately the village board then could become educated. So,
Can I add a comment to that?
you sure can.
I think it is a good idea to get more information and not base it on people's fears when we don't have facts.
Right.
And not
Agreed.
harming somebody's potential business and successful business and potentially successful business for Brookfield because of fears that may be unfounded. One of the things I might suggest is that maybe the manufacturer of the roaster has specifications on what kind of emissions come out of their roaster that they produce. That might be helpful to know. Or if there are any comments from people that use the roaster. I would feel more comfortable if we had more facts than if we were just making decisions based on fear.
I think we
All right,
also.
we're done here. Go
I
ahead.
think we also have the opportunity as board members, if we do continue this, to visit this business owner's site and see what that impact is. We're not going great distances, and it's not like it doesn't exist. And I do hear the public saying, yes, it could expand. I am aware of that. But I think this is our diligence as well to see what are the impacts, what could be future impacts if he did expand. And so we have that opportunity as board members, and I know that if this continues, I'll take that opportunity to see what that looks like, and I would suggest others do as well.
And that would give the public an opportunity as well.
Correct.
So, that being said, Dan, you're the petitioner. What you've heard tonight, if we continue this, is this something you're still willing to provide us with more information? All right. Understood. So I still suggest we continue it, and then you can get with staff, and if you decide to otherwise, then they'll let us know. So,
And I do have a question for staff. As a commission, are we able to put limits on ensuring that he's only operating a 15-pound roaster, and that doesn't suddenly become a 50-pound roaster, pumping out coffee? Again, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week?
Yeah, I would believe you could. And, the hours of operation, excuse me, is something you could do as well. A little harder on staff to regulate, to catch that, if you will, but it's certainly been done, and we do our best to enforce that.
Thank you.
I think the petitioner is hearing our concerns. He'll get with staff, we'll continue, we'll get with staff, and we'll see what happens. Is that,
That's fair.
who'd like to make a motion then? And what, same date? July 17th, we said?
24th.
July 24th,
At 7 p.m. at the
7 PM. Who's got it?
I'll make the motion that we continue this to
July.
July 24th, 7 PM, expecting more information to be provided to us regarding smells, et cetera, that is requested, discussed here tonight.
I'll second.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon?
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda?
Aye.
Commissioner Straka?
Aye.
Commissioner Weber? Aye. Chairperson Grump?
Aye. Thanks you all for hanging in there with us. That concludes the last zoning matter. Do we have other business from staff at this point? Come on, nothing?
And I'm going to defer to council if this is the appropriate time. Staff is going to be asking for a special session in June, so we can bring a matter to the board by June 23rd. So if there's a consensus for any week of June 9th or June 16th, where we can get a quorum of 4 people to present an electric vehicle charging readiness ordinance that currently doesn't exist but needs to exist, and we need to bring it before the board by the 23rd as part of the mayoral caucus certification for the bronze. So you don't have to give me an answer right now, but if there's 4 of you for the week of the 9th of June or the 16th of June.
I can give you my answer. If you want to hear the week of the 9th, you're out of luck because I'm not here.
How about or it could be the following week too.
Week of the 16th, I'm available, but not the week of the 9th. And that, you guys want to go without me, that's fine.
Week of the 9th, I'm
That's
not
great.
either, but I am open the entire week of the 16th.
Okay.
Any specific days of those weeks, or?
As long as it's not Friday the 20th, because the agenda will be going out, so preferably if it's no later than the 18th. So we can
So
get
what's
on the
that
board
Thursday,
agenda by the
June,
20th.
the week of the 16th, the Thursday there?
That Thursday is the 19th,
19th.
and so the agenda will already be out, so if
Oh.
it could be the Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, the 16th, 17th, or 18th.
I can be there.
I can do any of those days.
Oh, perfect, so 2?
I hate Mondays.
I know.
Let's do Tuesday or Wednesday. You pick.
Okay, it's
that all right?
up to you guys, to either Tuesday or Wednesday. Does that work? We want to do Tuesday,
Sounds
the
great.
17th?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
What's the date?
That is June 17th,
All right.
Tuesday, June 17th, and that'll be for a text amendment.
And that's
Okay.
at 7 o'clock, or?
We could do it earlier. It's completely up to this commission, whatever works with your
I'd
schedules.
probably have to commit to 7 PM.
Yeah.
Okay.
7, we're used to 7 PM. Let's leave it there.
It should be relatively short.
Okay.
And there would be no regular session that month then? It would just be a
Correct.
special session?
Yes,
Okay.
So that would be the only matter that.
that's the only
Okay.
matter.
All right. We appreciate you all hanging in there with us. Usually our meetings are done by, I don't know, 7:30, 7:45, so that was the fullest agenda that we've probably ever had, so thanks for hanging in.
Actually, like on the other side.
Do I have a motion to close the planning and zoning meeting for May 22nd at 9:13?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon?
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda?
Aye.
Commissioner Straka?
Aye.
Commissioner Weber? Aye. Chairperson Grump?
Aye. You'll, counsel?
surprises me that there would be no industrial performance standards related to smoke, glare, noise.